Hello everyone, I am Kenshin. Welcome to Talking About History. There are frequent wars in the world now. In addition to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the war between Israel and Hamas, and the deteriorating situation in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea, it can be said that war and human beings are almost inseparable. But when did human beings start war? Many friends also agree on this. Not sure? Let's find out together today. Before the show starts, please subscribe, share, and turn on the little bell. This will help us grow faster. Without further ado, the show begins. Grab your mental time machine, because we're diving deep into the origins of organized warfare, a tale as old as humanity itself. Picture this. Back in the day, when humans were still figuring out the whole farming thing and building permanent hangouts, things got a little wild. Yep. We're talking about the Neolithic Age, the Og era of organized chaos. Now, before that, sure, people were offing each other, but it was more like a free-for-all brawl than anything strategic. Luke Glowacki, the anthropology whiz over at Boston University, breaks it down for us. He reckons that in those early days, warfare was more like a bunch of small-scale, impromptu dust-ups. Think of it like those squabbles you see in a bunch of rowdy chimpanzees, just humans being, well, human. So, what exactly went down in these ancient skirmishes? Imagine you're chilling with your crew, minding your own business, when suddenly, you stumble upon some other group of folks. Next thing you know, bam! Someone ends up on the wrong end of a spear, and it's game over. But hey, it wasn't all chaos and mayhem. As our ancestors got more settled and started growing their own grub, things started to escalate. Archaeologists have dug up some pretty compelling evidence that suggests these little tiffs turned into bigger, badder showdowns. We're talking about longer battles, sneakier tactics, and probably a lot more drama. So, next time you're feeling stressed about the latest neighborhood feud, just remember it's all in our DNA. We've been duking it out since the dawn of time. Rise of agriculture, rise of warfare. Alright, buckle up, because we're about to hop into our time machine once more and zoom back to roughly 12,000 years ago. Picture this. Agriculture is making its grand entrance in the Fertile Crescent, and suddenly, people are multiplying like rabbits, even in places where crops aren't exactly the talk of the town. Luke Glowacki, our anthropology guru, puts it plain and simple. Farming might not be the be-all and end-all of warfare, but it sure makes it a heck of a lot easier. Now, here's the kicker: despite all the skull-cracking and arrow-shooting, there's no slam-dunk evidence that organized warfare was a thing before this so-called Neolithic revolution. But don't let that fool you. Basic warfare was definitely on the menu. Case in point, a little massacre party near Lake Turkana in Kenya about 10,000 years ago. The victims? Bound hands, arrow wounds, and some seriously fractured skulls. Ouch. Glowacki's nodding in agreement, calling it the gold standard of early massacres. These weren't just any old hunter-gatherers, they had a stash of snacks and probably didn't move around as much. And let's not forget, massacres aren't your run-of-the-mill squabbles. They're like the heavyweight champion of conflicts, requiring some serious planning and coordination. Fast forward to present-day Germany, where around 7,000 years ago, things got downright brutal. Attackers weren't content with just offing their victims. They had to add a little torture to the mix, like breaking shin bones for kicks. And guess what? Similar scenes played out in Germany, Austria, Croatia, and France. It was like a Neolithic horror show. But hey, not everyone was content to just sit back and take a beating. Take Jericho, for instance, one of the Og cities in the world. Those folks weren't messing around. They threw up city walls around 8000 BC to keep the riff-raff out. Can't blame them, really. So, what's the deal with all these Neolithic scraps? Well, according to a fancy study from November 2023, they were basically hit-and-run affairs, lasting no more than a few days and only involving a handful of unlucky souls. Talk about a whirlwind of violence. Extended fighting begins more than 5,000 years ago. Hold onto your hats, folks, because it looks like we've stumbled upon some Neolithic drama that's juicier than a primetime soap opera. Get this, a bunch of bones, around 5,400 to 5,000 years old, found chilling in northern Spain, are turning our understanding of ancient warfare on its head. First off, these skeletal remains weren't your typical massacre victims. Nope, they were more like survivors of a never-ending battle royale. Teresa Fernández Crespo, the brains behind this archaeological bombshell, thinks these folks were caught up in a serious turf war that lasted months, maybe even years. Talk about holding a grudge. What sparked this Neolithic showdown, you ask? Well, according to Fernández Crespo, it all boils down to good old-fashioned resource competition and some seriously tangled social dynamics. You know how it goes, one tribe wants the primo hunting grounds, while another's not giving 'em up without a fight. And hey, as agriculture started flexing its muscles, warfare was right there, lifting weights beside it. Alfred S. Bradford, a history buff over at the University of Oklahoma, breaks it down for us. See, when folks had to band together to water their crops, it was like a light bulb moment. Hey, why not team up to fend off the neighbors eyeing our fields? Before you know it, stone tools are out, and shiny copper ones are in. The Middle East was leading the charge, swapping out arrowheads and axes for some serious bling. And by the time the Bronze Age rolled around, it was like a military makeover party. Think big armies, fancy leaders with snazzy titles, and supply chains that could rival Amazon's. But wait, there's more. Ancient civilizations weren't just about the fighting, they were all about documenting their conquests, too. Take the Standard of Yore, for instance, showing off Sumerian muscle power with chariots and infantry strutting their stuff. And let's not forget Egypt's Narmer palette, a little slice of history highlighting their knack for conquering. Even Europe got in on the action eventually. Picture this, a showdown along the Tollens River in Germany, with a whopping 4,000 warriors duking it out. And it wasn't just Europe. Armies were popping up in places like Peru, Mexico, and China, too. Warfare was evolving, folks, and before you knew it, it started looking a whole lot like the battles we see today. What do you think about this story? Please leave your comments. See you in the next episode.